Now, let's create variables that represent income, race, and marital status. Let's start with income. Income is a fairly short word and seems like an appropriate name, so let's type it under the variable name column on the third row. Now we will allow this type to remain as numeric, as values will be represented by numbers only. However, let's pull up the variables type window to review the various variable types that you can create. In order to display the variable types options window, click on the cell under type for our variable income and click on the call button. Let's pause for a second to note some of the variable types on this list. We'll not go over all the variable types, but just a few that you are likely to use in your construction of variables. Note that you can click on Help for a thorough description of each variable type. We have already reviewed the numeric type, but another type that is often used is date. Selecting this type tells SPSS to recognize the data for variables as a date rather than a numeric figure. If we had created a variable for date, we would select the date button and select the date format we want SPSS to recognize. The string type is used to tell SPSS to recognize other types of data in addition to numbers, such as letters and words. This type is typically used for open-ended questions. If we selected string, we would also have to tell SPSS the maximum number of characters to allow for that variable. Note that we could have created different value codes for our sex variable, with F being designated as female and M being designated as male, for instance. If we wanted to code our variables that way, we would have to select the string type. For our income variable, we are simply going to remain numeric. Click on numeric and select OK. Note that this time we want the decimal places to remain at 2, as we might be interested in cents as well as whole dollars. Also note that if we were interested in collecting data on higher income values, we would have to increase our width. For now, we'll allow it to remain at 8. Now let's label the variable income and call it participant annual income. Type in participant annual income under the label for our variable income. Note that we do not need to label values for this variable, since values generally will be self-explanatory and do not require labels for each possible value. Let's now insert our missing values code, as you did previously. We'll be consistent and type in -99 under discrete missing values. Under measure, we'll select scale, since we're working with a continuous variable. Let's now create our race variable on the next row. Since race is a short term, we will simply type race under the names column. As before, since we're only interested in discrete number values, we'll take our decimal places and bring them down to 0. Type in race of participant under labels for our race variable. Under values, let's create some common value categories for race, including Black, Hispanic and Latino, Asian and Pacific Islander, and mixed. Remember to click on the call button for values to pull up the values window. So let's start with our label Black. The first thing we do, as before, is tell SPSS what number we want to designate for Black. Let's start with 1. Type in Black under label and click Add. Now let's type in our other value categories. Let's type in 2 for white. And remember to click on Add. Let's type in 3 for Hispanic or Latino. Click Add. Let's type in 4 for Asian or Pacific Islander. We'll designate 5 for mixed. Click Add. And when you're done and you're satisfied with all your categories, you can click OK. SPSS now is aware of our value categories, and now we're going to code our discrete missing values. It's -99 as before, and under measure we tell SPSS that this is a nominal variable. Congratulations! You can now create variables in SPSS. Now let's click on our data view to see how the data screen has changed. As you can see, each of the variables you have created is represented one column each. As I stated before, this is the screen where you would enter your data. If you were entering data from a completed survey, each row would represent a case or a participant. You would simply read each survey and enter data one row at a time according to the data from your survey by typing in the numeric responses in the appropriate cells. For instance, if we came across a survey in which a participant indicated being 24 years old, male, with an annual income of $50,000 identifying as black, we would simply type in 24 under age, 2 for male under sex, recall our value codes from earlier, 50,000 for income, and 1 for black under race. Your codes are always available to you in the variable window if you forget.